Hello, everyone. It is Jeanette the Oracle. I hope that you are doing well. Welcome, welcome. Apologies for being a few minutes late. Just trying to cool down. Let me give a minute or so for folks to come in. And I'm just getting my notes. I hope everybody is doing oh so well. Woo, it's hot. I hope everyone is staying cool. For those of you who live in the Northern Hemisphere and are dealing with the summer heats, I pray that, you have coolness in whatever ways you can get it, and that you take it easy and take it slow. And give your body what it needs, especially those electrolytes, because the more you sweat, the more you lose those important minerals. So make sure you are staying on top of your nutrition, okay? All right. I am sipping on an iced matcha latte. Alrighty, hello. So as you come in, please say hi, tell us where you're joining from, your name, what you're sipping on, you know the deal. But yeah, let's actually get into it. So hello, for those of you who might be new to me, my name is Jeanette the Oracle, founder and CEO of Inner Sun Alchemy. And I don't think I have any announcements just yet, except to say that the September astrology report will be coming out in another week or so. And that has both personal and business strategy guidance that you can use for the month ahead. And I do that every month, so that is available. Hello. Alicia Curls, a good day, Alicia from New Jersey, sipping on water. Hey, welcome. So that will be coming out soon. And then also the schedule for Covenant, which is the monthly membership, the exclusive private membership here at Inner Sun Alchemy. That schedule will be coming out soon as well, most likely next week. Excuse me, with the dates for the live sessions that both me and the other two facilitators will be running in the space. Was basically like, coaching for whatever the areas of life that you may want additional support in. So definitely check that out. And also next month, September, is of course autumn equinox. So that is when I do the spiritual New Year channeling and messages. I definitely have a lot of information and intel to get out before then, starting today. So that will be in preparation for that channeling. That channeling is, like I said, a once a year thing that I do, and it does provide guidance for each of the 12 months ahead. And it is, this time around is going to be much more, if not primarily or only exclusively focused on spiritual guidance and messages. And what I'll probably end up doing is saving more of the kind of more grounded or practical human life stuff in the 2025 astrology sessions that I do one-on-one with folks, just so that the channeling isn't going to be too involved. But yeah, these messages about heaven and the state of the souls of humanity and all that kind of stuff is really prominent. So I want to definitely honor that and speak to that. So that is the plan with that. So that's what's coming within these next 2 weeks. If you want to stay in the loop, be sure to subscribe to my newsletter, which you can do at the link below in my description, and you'll get access to that info. I'm not the greatest about posting on the community page here on YouTube. So honestly, if you want to have the most consistent and reliable access to information, the newsletter is going to be the thing, because that's just the way it is. The written word is always easier to handle. Plus, I can do it and schedule it out. So anyway, how's everyone feeling? I do want to do a quick check with folks, especially if you if you've had a chance to watch the video from last week and to experience working with that prayer that was posted and that we've been working on in the comments, how have you been feeling? Have you been feeling any shifts? Have any messages been coming through? Definitely let me know in the comments, whether you're here live or later on when you're watching the video, because it is good to know and get a sense of what's happening. The more information and intel I have, the more tactic and strategies and tools and techniques I can provide to help us with this process. So yeah, information is helpful, so please do share as much as you can and you feel comfortable with. If for some reason you don't feel comfortable with something, you can also share information on the contact page of my website, also in the link below. But yeah, when you share it here in this space, it also helps so that if other folks are experiencing something similar, they get affirmed in that. And it helps us to not feel like we're alone and exclusively feeling what we're feeling, right? Okay, so enough chatting. I'll just wait to see if comments show up around that, but I do want to give some updates. So your girl has been in the spirit pretty much almost every day in council, having all sorts of revelations and things like that since getting called by the Holy Spirit to speak on these attacks on the souls of humanity. So for the prayer specifically, I have created a kind of more streamlined version based off of the contribution that others gave in the comments from before. I will be sharing that in probably the next newsletter. I'm not sure when that's coming out, but the next newsletter, I'll be sharing that, and I'll also show as a blog on the website as well later on. But I do have that, and I built that again based off of what initially came through from me, as well as what others contributed. So that is there, but please do feel free to build your own. But as you are using that, I was getting the confirmation that it is a daily prayer that needs to happen, and ideally needs to continue daily through these next 4 months, or these next full moons, if you will. It just needs to happen. And so the way the prayer is structured that I have up there is, for the souls of humanity in general. So you can do that, once a day or 1 to 3 times a day, depending on, or 1 to 3 times per day, depending on, how you feel called. But in particular, when it comes to applying that prayer to your own soul, at least 5 times, if not 10, to allow that penetration and to speed up that process of that clearing and the purification of that infiltrated energy, and also to lend your power to this essential pushback to those attacks. Okay, so 5 to 10 times, at least 5 times, 10 times if you can. You can do that all at once, or you can do maybe 5 times in the morning, 5 times at night. But that is going to be the thing. And in particular, and I will share this when I share this, the edited version or the streamlined version, not only addressing the 7th dimension, but also any and all dimensions, which is a contribution. And I'm glad that came through from another in the soul family, any and all dimensions where it's occurring at all the levels of the soul. So make sure to do that, okay? As best as you can, right? Even if you can only do it once a day, that's fine, because the prayer is built in, it will address all of them. But the repetition and the building up of momentum and the power in your own spirit, your own divinity behind those words, 5 or 10 times per day is what is recommended. Now, that number of times, I would say at least, if you can, for the next 30 days, okay? And then we can kind of check in to see if that needs to continue through the rest of the year, that many number of times, or if it can drop down to maybe 3 times or something. But I'm hearing at least for those next 30 days or whenever you actually start, depending on when you watch this and get access to that kind of finalized version of the prayer, to do so for 30 days if you can. Okay. Welcome to folks coming in. Hope you're doing well. Okay, so there's that, and that's what's most important is getting that done. Now you can also expand that. If you want to go in and praying over, your parents, your individual family members, or whoever, what have you, like that also is a version or available to you as well. But yeah, please do invest as much as you can on praying for yourself. So some of the things that actually came up in the last message were pointing back to channelings that came through during a previous Oracle talk, and I believe I think it was the light worker message for August. Yeah, I think it was a light worker message for August, and you can find it in the Oracle Talks playlist on the channel. And there was something in there speaking specifically to those light workers who were in general operated as sustainers about this imitation piece, like watching those who imitate and pretend, or like whenever you come across those dark forces, like it's some form of imitation. And someone had brought that up, but I wasn't getting any intel on that. And so when I was later on spending more time with it, as well as seeing whether information was coming through from other spiritualists for things that they were picking up, the pieces started to like come together. So what I was getting was that there were, I'll just say beings. They were just beings, but they're part of. They're not outside Earth, heaven, realm. Like it's within our kingdoms, if you will. So there were beings that were essentially creating imitations of our souls. Okay, so essentially like mimicking, right? It was a mimicry piece. Mimicking the signature of our soul, our vibrational frequency, architecture, what have you, and using that as a way to divert our, essentially our spiritual inheritance and our resources off. So if you can imagine, like, what was the example they're giving me? Oh, kind of like, I believe this is the analogy, but like kind of like how you might have a stent in a blood vessel, and that provides a way for the blood to flow through that thing, because they're well, in that case I guess would be a blockage or something, but in this case it was like the mimicry, the imitation of our soul essentially like was used as a stent to redirect the flow of again our spiritual inheritance and resources to them, rather than what was to be coming towards us, what was there for us. Let me know if that resonates, if that vibes with your spirit, if it confirms or affirms or clarifies things. And so that's essentially like the quote unquote mechanics, if you will, of what was happening. So that actually was the imitation piece. Again, them or whatever they were using, mimicking us, so that which is supposed to be for us truly was going to the imitation of us, which was under their control, so that they had access to what was for us. there's one more thing with that. Hold on. So essentially, oh yeah. So a message that came through in the last Oracle Talks was about the timing of when this implantation, if you will, occurred. And I think what was coming through is it could go as far back as 2020, but it really depended on, the person or kind of where. So it wasn't necessarily that far back. It could have been as soon as a few months ago. I was getting intel for myself that was showing up not as far back as that, but like relatively as far back. And so, if you're trying to get a sense of where that is for you, obviously ask directly of the Holy Spirit and source, maybe your ancestors about that intel. But wherever you might have noticed that, like, things just gradually stopped working out, and we're having a greater and greater difficulty achieving what it is that you are seeking to achieve beyond your best efforts. And this would be in such a way that it actually would be putting you in a place where your mind would start questioning and challenging your faith. Again, this came up last time. So it would be related to that because, definitely want to create a demarcation between, actual theft of what's ours versus things that are just obstacles, right? So hopefully that helps with that clarity and that specification. But yeah, it could have been as far back as 2020-ish, approximately, or somewhere within that time between then and now where things would start to shift. I know I was shown and told where that was for me, and it lines up with how things are playing out in my own life. So, see where that might be for you. But we were alerted now, or at least I was alerted now. I'm sure others were alerted at other times before. But at least for this group of folks who are following me currently and watching this currently, we were alerted now more recently when I got called to address it as a heads up that infiltration was in place, but in particular, the execution of judgment against those beings who were doing that was at hand, and we would also be dealing with the ramifications of kind of that pushback as they tried to hold on, which is another reason why this message is coming through about increasing the amount of repetitions of the prayer to support a faster clearing out of that energy and that infiltration in the soul. So let me stop there first. Any questions about what I'm saying? Or any thoughts or whatever is coming up? Look like anything? No? Okay. Thank you, Purblind. Okay, so that was what was going on, or that's what's been going on. Now, the reason behind these other spirits essentially attacking um, is due to essentially deep-seated envy that they have for human souls. Reason being, human souls are, as we know, um, essentially fractals of source creator. Okay. Um, and there are things in the nature of how the human soul is constructed and, excuse me, the power and the, I'm gonna have to use hierarchical language, but the authority in a way that the human soul has compared to other spirits is a point of contention for some folks. Okay. Um, so I was reminded that, you know, as I've told you all, I had to be reminded myself that everything is not love and light in the realms. So, meaning that um, everybody doesn't necessarily agree with everyone, everyone doesn't necessarily like everyone. The polarities do exist, right? The polarities do exist. Now, an opposing polarity does not necessarily mean that it is evil. It's just a different polarity, right? And that creates the variety of experience that we have with each other within the realms, and um, both inter realm and intra realm, or intra realm and inter realm relationships and dynamics that show up. Um, and I have a different, another framework that Spirit was giving me to help with understanding that, which I want to get into next. But that as a baseline to relay that. So, with that being said, the polarity is fine and it is natural and it is to be so. Um, as it relates to us in particular as human souls, when something is going to be considered, or what I actually would consider to be evil, is that which seeks to um, attempt to destroy creation, right? Which can be done, but an attempt to destroy creation at a like very broad scale. But then for us, as it relates to our well-being, is that which seeks to destroy or attack the souls of humanity, because we are sacred. We are literally God's children. I mean, everyone is God's children, but it's, again, our construction is most like the divine. Like, we truly are, as I've said, fractals of God's source creator um, as a soul. We are a mini divine being in and of ourselves. We are gods, and for those of us who are incarnate, we are gods walking the earth. So there are folks who don't like that. They don't like that, or they're envious of not being that themselves, not having access to what we have access to ourselves, just by the nature of our being, who want to have what we have as spirits, animating and navigating a human soul. So that's where that energy is coming from, that envy being directed towards human souls, is because of that. The siblings are jealous. I don't know how else to say it, but it's an envy thing. Now, 'cause, 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 ultimately, when we talk about things in the context of healing, um, and we know this here in our human lives, anytime anybody is jealous or envious of you and what you have or what have you, it's because they don't feel um, good about themselves. They don't feel empowered in themselves. And they, if they were smart, would actually focus on their own personal healing and shoring up within themselves that which is actually um, not a strong foundation, like where these faulty ideas of their wealth and their worth and their value comes from. And so, um, if you've read the prayer that I have for the oppressors before, you know that that is encoded with um, truly a divine love perspective of removing the barriers from the hearts, the minds, the wills of other people who act as oppressors to their fellow man, to return home to their true nature, to turn to source, to return to that which actually has the answer for that which aches within them, that longing. That longing is for the truth of who they are. That longing is for having a deep relationship with source. Um, but for, a variety of reasons, that is unknown, or that is seen as not good enough for whatever reason. So ultimately, these other spirits who are a part of our bigger, kind of heavenly and earthly family, essentially are going to have to do that work or come up with that and resubmit themselves back to source, resubmit themselves back to the Holy Spirit. And look within, because again, once that idea, that framework starts to pop in of I'm not good enough, or what I have access to, my power, my gifts, my purpose, my assignment, what have you, is not as good as Tom, Dick, and Harry over there, then we have a problem, right? And depending on how deep that envy how deep that envy goes, how rooted that is, how much of a difference in polarity they are to us, the more disharmonious and malevolent the actions taken around that sense of envy and lack of self-worth are going to show up as. And so in this case, it has shown up as like, I'm going to show up like the soul, imitate, mimic, and use it as a way to, get what's for them. It's basically like spiritual identity theft. What's been going on has been spiritual identity theft. Yeah. So this is something that is present through many different levels of the realms. And so what I shift into now is the politics of heaven, which is the first part of this title, and speak to the different dimensions of heaven. I touched on this in the Lightworker Incubator. So for those of you who are alumni, this should sound familiar. And then for those who know a lot about the different spheres of heaven in the Christian context, or really the Abrahamic religion context, like this should sound familiar as well. But if this is just like going over your head, come through the Lightworker Incubator, which will open up later in the year. All right, so we have the dimensions. We have the earthly realm, which is the third dimension, but the third dimension is 3 in 1 because it's third, second, and first. So earthly realm, so that's here, third dimension. Then we have the uh, the astral realm, okay, which I refer to as the fourth dimension. The astral, as it's been revealed to me, actually has three subsections within it that souls progress through as they go through certain levels of healing and life review and things like that, or even like preparation to come into incarnation. Like that's that level. That is a level of the ancestors, obviously, or at least the first, because they can be higher. But all of that is there. So 3D astral realm, which has three sets within it, but astral, which I call the fourth. And then we have the fifth dimension. So this is where we have the lowest level of principalities. So principalities you can think of at this level as being, let me get my notes because I know I'm going to mess this up. These would be like administrators or assistants that essentially those spirits that are over organizations, businesses, these would be more like local businesses, state businesses, and possibly national ones. These would also be the spirits over ethnic groups. Okay. And I don't mean like broadly like the spirit of Black people or the spirit of white people. Like that's not an ethnic group. It's, the spirit of the Iroquois, or the spirit of the Celts, or the spirit like an actual like group of people. They're also, this is also where you would have the spirits over families. Okay, so a branch of a branch of the mom side of the family might have a spirit, dad side, what have you, because we have many branches. So that also is there. So that's fifth dimension. Okay, and this could be termed, doesn't have to be, but could be termed as the lowest level of heaven. But yeah, spirits that deal with that stuff. This fifth level, I would say, and this has been my experience and probably has been your experience as well too, depending on, your exposure. This is where much of the tomfoolery and the fuck shit happens. This is where a lot of the oppressive, exploitive, extractive behaviors show up, as well as the creative and like all the positive side. But yeah, like there a lot of the time when we talk about like strongholds and things like that, like this tends to be in this fifth dimension realm, because again, it's related to the organizations, businesses, local government, families and groups and stuff. And we already know, just even in our human life, how messy that is. There's some folks who are in that kind of administrative, elected or appointed positions who manage well, who, they do well in their roles. And then we have those who are corrupt. So what you see here is very much reflected there in the spirit. Okay. All right. So that's that. Okay. So next is the middle level of heaven. So this could be the upper parts of 5 and then 6, and then upper parts of 5th dimension, the 6th dimension, and maybe the lower parts of 7th dimension. So this is where we have the larger principalities. So these are, again, the officials, administrators, assistants, scholars, etc. That would be essentially the spirits of actual nation states. So the spirit of the United States, the spirit of Mexico, etc. This would also So those would be those principalities, um, larger ethnic groups related to like regions, international companies. So that's that for the principalities. Um, then we'd also have here the virtues. These are those spirits that guard over or administer, you know, manage, what have you, um, nature and its kingdoms. So, you know, the bodies of water, the uh, different land masses, the continents. This would be those energies that um, rule over the different animal kingdoms, the plant kingdoms, fairies, all of that. Again, more management type stuff. Um, the lower level would probably be like the 4D and 5D would be more where folks would be showing up and living, as well as 3D, obviously. But we're talking, you know, the spirit of the thing is going to be there. So that's the virtues. This is also, again, for the alumni, if you've heard me refer to the mothers and the fathers. Any of that earth-based dragon energy, that's around this level and this level of heaven. Then also here we have the dominions. So these are the folks who essentially are managing, whether well or not, and dealing with the energies and also communication with off-world folks. So this would be, you know, interplanetary energies within our solar system, as well as off-planet, okay, or off solar system, beyond the solar system. So those are the dominions. And then we also have the powers here. So this is where a lot of the angelic armies sit. Not all, but a good chunk of the forces actually live in this range at various levels of this middle heaven. So your guardian angels can be fourth or fifth dimension for like the personal attendants that we have. Like we have at least one personal guardian angel that walks with us when we incarnate. But we also can have more as well. That's in this middle realm as well. So that's that. And then the highest level of heaven is, you know, those upper levels of the seventh dimension and above. So 8, 9, etc. This is where we have the seraphim. You've heard me talk about that, right? So these are the ones who are managing the energies of, you know, oh, I'm getting this mixed up. The dominions are just interplanetary, so energies and other beings there, so are specifically within our solar system. The seraphim deal with the stuff outside of our solar system. Okay. The cherubim deal with essentially overseeing all of living beings on planet Earth, including the souls of humanity. And then the thrones are essentially the highest level of angel guards, defenders, protectors, warriors, etc. Okay. So thrones are angels, powers are angels. Thrones are at the highest level of heaven. Powers are middle range of heaven. And then the angels in general are just going to be, can be found at the lower levels, so 4D, as well as, you know, 3D. we can embody that angelic energy. Archangels, archangels essentially are going to be thrones, but they also can have positions at other levels. And the arch in their name essentially denotes the highest level of authority for that department or region that they are working on or working within. Yeah. All right. So questions on that? I feel like I just went into teacher mode. I will be writing up this at some point later on and share it in the newsletter as well. But I don't want to delay getting the info out. So I'm going to get this out in verbal form first. Because the information needed to come through. Because also, another thing that was coming through in the messages this past week as I've been with Spirit is that this imitation of us essentially has allowed these beings to essentially sit in our spot, sit in our area of jurisdiction, sit in our position in heaven, our purpose at a spiritual level. Because our human experience purpose, like most of us do actually know that, so that's clear. But when it comes to our purpose as in the spirit, or as I like to call, light worker, they've been occupying that spot. And so part of this healing and part of, again, why we want to have a lot of this repetition of the prayers is to reclaim our spot, to accept it at the level that it actually is and not be intimidated by it, to accept the power and to accept the responsibility of using that power, and to do that moving forward. Like, we have to reclaim essentially the reins of power. We have to step back into our position for real. So the insight of what that is, the revelation of what that is going to be coming down for folks, is going to be realized in your conscious mind. So please spend as much time as you can on a daily basis with Spirit, journaling, meditating, being in Akashic records, talking with your ancestors, what have you. But notice, like, if you start like having this self-doubt come in about how your spirit actually is to be showing up in heaven and on earth, what really is there for your soul purpose. Because the fear around that is residual from the effects of this imitation. Appreciate the detail and review. No questions. Awesome. Yeah, but that is going to be coming down, like I said, or being revealed to you consciously. And like I said, it needs to be accepted. Stepping into the position that somebody was essentially I won't even say like stolen, because the position is the position, so it can't actually be stolen, but they were, again, mimicking us in standing in that spot, acting in that spot. And that's good. So thank you, Spirit. The spiritual inheritance and the resources are related to the position. I'll say that again. The spiritual inheritance and the resources are related to the position. So if someone is pretending to be you in a particular position, they would then be getting that spiritual inheritance and those resources. So, say another way, said another way, this would be like, um, again, that identity theft thing. If you, maybe have a position in your company, and then somebody um, like kidnaps you and like starts to pretend to be you, they would then be getting your paychecks. They would be getting your promotions. They'd be getting, hello, only just joining. No worries. Welcome, welcome. You just missed my my topic about the the different realms of heaven. It's all good though. Joining from the UK with T, awesome. But yeah, if someone's in that position, they're getting your paychecks, they are getting your promotions, they are getting your um, relationships, they're getting your health, they're getting that stuff because they're pretending. Um, so yeah, so this reclamation of the position means like, oh no, I need to actually now start getting this. But again, it's not a me thing, because first off, you have the Holy Spirit. That's your foundation. So we have to be mindful not to um, collapse our sense of self and identity with the position that we may hold, which is what is the issue with these envious beings. And instead recognize that the position itself comes with these particular inheritance and resources to enable you to do the work required of that position. Okay. And as we quote unquote level up and ascend in our soul power and our stewardship, um, we get promoted within the heavenly realms, right? And that promotion is related to our stewardship of the particular position that we were in. So as this insight comes through about the position that someone was mimicking us in the spirit, first off, it should actually feel like a natural progression, because it is going to be in alignment with your spirit and your spirit's purpose. But yeah, it's like, oh, now I have to actually like step into this and accept it, and to do this work. And it should not feel like a burden. You, again, may have doubts, which is fine. But remember, you're there for a reason. Like the buck can't get past to anyone else because you said yes, right? It's actually just for you. And, you're wonderfully made and equipped to do it. And if somebody else was better for it, they would be in it, right? But the reason, these positions are under attack is due to jealousy and envy, as I mentioned before. All right. So this clearing will continue because the what was done on a technical side of thing in terms of this mimicry and of us is deep. So follow the instructions I gave at the beginning, but it will take some time. But as you increase the number of repetitions of the prayer, it will speed up the process for you, and you will start to notice things shift and turn around in your life. The speed at which that happens is going to be different for different folks. I'm sure based off of, how long something's been going on, how deep something is, how much energy is being invested into healing and restoring yourself now. Like all of those come into play. So I can't speak to that timing, um, but it will turn quickly and more quickly anyway than um, the imitation was in place, I should say. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns, or anything about the different levels of heaven as I talked about? I do want to possibly check in for some messages, although we are already at almost an hour. Um, yeah, I will still do some kind of check-in, but I'll give a chance for folks to comment. Hello to folks who are coming in. Please do share how, like I said, how you're feeling, any updates that you want to provide, any intel that may have come down to you. Would be good and helpful. The more intel that is shared, the easier it is to be creating tactics to help. These spirits, specifically the department that they were in, are related to those essentially who would be managing the distribution of, the spiritual inheritance and material resources related to various positions. So essentially like those who work in the department of maintenance for the human souls overall. I have not checked in to see if this was specifically to incarnate souls or if it also includes ancestors at the astral realm and above. So I'm somewhat trying to keep the focus on us, but essentially like they work in that department of managing what flows to folks. So that's how they had that level of that knowledge of and level of access to us. So this wasn't coming at the level of the creation of human souls. It's not there. It's in the space of souls of humanity that already exist. So hopefully that brings some clarity. Let me know if that does help specify things. It's like those folks who be skimming off the top of what would be given to someone else. Like there's somebody at a higher level who's like, okay, here's this, cash deposit or dispensation, and it's handed off to a subordinate. And the subordinate's like, okay, I'll deliver it, and they take a little bit for themselves and give, just something to you. and they hide it by mimicking you, so it doesn't actually like get picked up, or at least it wasn't picked up for a while. But spirit was definitely alerted that something was going on, and the length of time that it has taken is related to the building of the case against these folks. I think possibly what ended up happening is like it progressed to such a level up through the dimensions that, um, well, more discerning eyes could determine that it was something beyond the foolishness that we just deal with in general. Greetings from Inglewood, sipping on virtual tea in this crazy office today. Not virtual tea. Let me plug in my computer. So, as I mentioned earlier about the principalities in that fifth dimension, um, to be clear, and I mentioned this before. Oh, someone's at my door. 1 second. And we're back. Okay. It was the delivery. Okay, so as I mentioned, as I have mentioned, like over time, about how spiritual warfare is also not this kind of like dissociated thing up in the realms. It is also related to what we are experiencing here in the physical. So exploitation of our labor is spiritual warfare. Physical violence, like rape, domestic violence, things like that. Stealing of our wages, just all that type of stuff. Awesome, yay. So, yeah, that is already there, and that in its own way also siphons and steals what's ours. The thing is, though, that's us with ourselves. So even though there are, spiritual correspondences, these are our governments, these are our relationships, this is how we are with ourselves. And the more certain groups of folks proliferate in power or are allowed to, the more power those corresponding principalities have. That does not mean that other principalities don't exist, but the folks who may be associated with that, with a different polarity, who seek to have a more equitable society and distribution of resources, etc. They're the ones that actually have to leverage their power and resources, et cetera, to counteract, right? But that's not something that's like necessarily artificially imposed, right? It's tendencies within our nature, because we do have all the polarities, we do have all of the divinities really essentially like able to express through us. And so that can be exploited opportunistically by, the higher realms, etc. But in general, it is something that we are consciously engaging with each other, whether or not we know we are consciously engaging with that in the spirit. So that's that. So there's that level of foolishness that does actively, seek to, if not actually have us out of position, or, take away our inheritance literally or figuratively, exploit our labor, subject us to war and violence, ecocide. That is there, okay? And that is that fifth primarily, as well as sixth, because it is also, leadership at the government level and international company and all of that. Okay. So saying that to say, this kind of energy that is specific to like actually attacking the soul and mimicking the soul can hide easily in that kind of environment, right? But as folks in essentially higher levels of government within the heavens, within the realms, engage in that behavior as well, because that's fewer people, first of all, and there's a little bit more checks and balances. It's easier to detect. And so that detection came when it essentially had gotten to a certain level, right? And so the building of the case is not just for the folks who might be at the seventh dimension. It's the building of the case against those at the sixth, those at the fifth, those principalities, possibly those at the fourth as well, because we know envy is people, and we know even with our ancestors, not everybody is elevated and beneficial. There are malevolent ones too who do seek to take from us, right? Much less people in our own lives. So the case, which is why the more finalized version of the prayer that I'll be sharing, based off of our co-created, contribution to that, includes all the dimensions, because the penetration of this is deep. And again, also why the increased repetition of the prayer on a daily basis is important, to build that momentum and to allow for the penetration of essentially cosmic justice to make its way in and to do this deeper healing and to support our realignment and repositioning to our natural position that we should be having in the spirit, okay? Which first and foremost is just a sovereign soul. And then for those who are also called to a quote unquote light worker path, then there may also be certain positions within the heavenly realms at whatever level for particular work that you are to do, okay? So let me know if that makes sense, if you have questions or anything around that. I am going to ask, with the power and presence of Archangel Gabriel, to provide additional guidance. So I'm going to pull some cards from that, and it's going to be through all the realms. So third through the upper levels of heaven. So third through ninth. See if there's anything else that needs to come through, and then we will bounce. Again, I'll be sharing that prayer in my next newsletter, so be sure to sign up for the newsletter. The link in the description. Has anyone else been picking up anything else regarding these attacks? Any information from your ancestors, your beneficial ancestors about things? Because I'd be curious to know if any of them mention it's been happening. It's also been happening for them as well. Okay. These are too many cards to show, but I will scribe. Well, actually, no, I can. Hold on. Take a little finagling since I'm doing so many dimensions. Okay. So third dimension, we have Hermit, Knight of Swords. So this is the opposing energy. And then we have the Death card and Queen of Wands for our energy, our side of things. Okay, so yeah, this is giving me, confirming that vibe of using the power of our voice to support the cosmic judgment and divine clearing through all the etheric levels, energetic levels of our soul, all the dimensions of our soul. Okay. So that's the 3D vibe. So we gotta be doing that because that energy which is hidden still in our souls and our fields is being driven out, and it's not going quietly. If you've ever done any clearing of dark energy, more so like malevolent dark energy, like consciously choosing to be dark rather than just like parasitic and opportunistic, removing that is a little bit of a battle within itself. So yeah, that is what is there. So stay on top of prayer things while that is occurring, and the angels are there to support that clearing as well. But these energies are demonic and devilish. They do actually work for the devil. But the divine has got us. The divine has got us and is helping to clear us out. So in the astral, we have the Princess of Cups and the Nine of Wands. So this is strong faith and power here, and protection and purity of heart and soul. So that's good. I'm glad to actually see that. Yeah, our soul is pure and strong. The opposing energy, 8 of Swords, 9 of Swords. This energy is being quarantined and it is mucky. It's a lot of like kind of off-gassing that I see here. But yeah, quarantining of that energy as well as a blocking of it from having further access to us, and neutralizing of the effects. But this is some mess, and this is for double Gemini, that dual energy that was coming up before. Yeah. Actually, this is seeming now that I see the other cards, this seems to be where the current rooting out of these spirits, as well as the technology that they use to mimic and to infiltrate our soul, is here. So this seems to be the depth of the level that cosmic judgment has come down to. Well, that's good to know. Yeah, because in the 5th dimension, looks like there is victory there on the in terms of what's getting cleared out. Like a lot of that has actually been cleared. It's been successful, and the Holy Spirit and the beneficial beings that do what they're supposed to do in terms of serving the Holy Spirit and serving the souls of humanity. They are writing things there. So at the 5th, we're showing up as the the high priest and high priestess here. So that's really powerful. So again, what I was saying about positions, positions, especially at this level, are solidified, whatever they are going to be. That insight is clear and aware now, not only for the teams at this level, but also at a soul level. This is soul consciousness level, the 5th level, the aura. The high priest representing the contract, essentially the position. So like I said, that clarity is coming through. It's starting to come through now. So if it hasn't come through yet, like it is coming. Most likely will be within these next few days. for most, in particular if you are a light worker. But yeah, your position, your role in the government of heaven, so to speak, is there. Oh, this is what I forgot to say earlier. So the Spirit was giving me a loose framework to work with for how the branches of heaven can correlate to how the branches of the US are set up in a way, to kind of help with like understanding how things go in terms of administration. So, here we have in the US, we have the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judicial branch. So the executive branch is essentially the military arm or the executor of the laws. So it's the military branch, both external, so outer planetary, as well as internal, right? Execution of the law of the land, or in this case, the kingdom of heaven. The judicial branch is going to be those folks who actually create the laws. So these are, going to have your councils who are charged with maintaining like the main directives from the Holy Spirit, but also things that are informed by what's going on within the realms and creating laws, right? And then that's the legislative branch. The judicial branch, Lord have mercy. The legislative branch is the one who's making those laws, so that's the councils and stuff. The judicial branch is the actual court system, so they're the ones who are interpreting the laws against the behavior of individuals, groups, institutions, et cetera, et cetera. And so when things are out of alignment, cases are brought, and then, there are judgments made on those things. Also, if folks have challenges to the law, they want to sue, et cetera. And this is also the group or the department, the branch that would deal with bringing challenges to laws that have been put on the books. But there is obviously a correlation and a partnership with the executive branch, i.e. the executors of the judgments that come through the courts when someone is breaking the laws, right? And then, of course, if someone's actually like attacking the kingdom of heaven, they would be activated as well. But as it relates to those laws, so that is what is there. So hopefully that brings some clarity, or helps to create a framework for governance at that higher level, and then how that can matriculate down through the levels is similar to how the structure of the U.S. is created, and probably like other democracies as well. The construction of this government and similar governments is definitely like inspired by how things are at certain levels, but not an exact replica. Okay, so but our positions essentially, because this is the politics of heaven, our positions within the government, our roles, our positions within the government, the clarity about that will be coming through. Okay, so be on the lookout for that. Now, at the sixth dimension, We have our energy, we're showing up as the Temperance card and the Seven of Pentacles. So there is sovereignty here, there is union here. There's acceptance of the path here. Now, with the cards that are just shown up in the sixth and the fifth, you may find your position is in the fifth because the Hierophant is there, or you may find your position is in the sixth because of the Temperance and the Seven of Pentacles, or it may be somewhere else. It's feeling like a lot of folks are probably going to be in one of those two areas. Not all, but a good portion will be in one of those two areas. On the opposing side, at the sixth dimension, we have the Ace of Pentacles and the Hanged Man. So imprisonment has already occurred for those at the seventh, or excuse me, at the sixth level. New folks are now being put into place to replace the positions that those folks had in those jobs, those roles. But also prison. Those folks are in prison at the sixth. Of those who are operating at the sixth, those who are operating in the fifth, they've successfully been gathered up. Those at the fourth are being gathered. Those at the third are being gathered. So that is still in process. Okay, questions so far? Just put them in the comments. At the seventh level of heaven, so upper levels of heaven, we have the Seven of Cups, Ace of Cups, and the Two of Cups. So Two of Cups is us. Opposing energy is the Seven of Cups. So those at the seventh are actively going through a stripping of the spiritual inheritance that they've stolen. So those resources, etc. They're being stripped of that right now. This is active punishment and stripping. This is almost giving me actually like Tartarus energy. But yeah, it's a removal of what has been accumulated by them. For us, it's a restoration and healing with the Two of Cups, the deeper coming of home to self, a reunification of our soul and our spirit, as well as a conscious realization, a deeper realization of our true nature. The Ace of Cups is the Holy Spirit. It is healing. And literally coming down from source itself and being disseminated through all time, spaces, frequencies, and dimensions. Eighth dimension, Three of Swords. This is cosmic judgment for them. King of Cups for us. Or on our side, I should say. And then at the top, overseeing all is the Emperor. Which is God's source creator. One moment. Straight to jail, right? Exactly. I'm glad there's justice being brought. Yeah. Again, our prayers do also help that. So continue the prayers, not only for ourselves, but for the collective souls of humanity, period. Whoever was affected by this, because everyone wasn't necessarily affected by this specifically, this imitation and stealing. The stealing in some way, shape, or form, a good portion of society just because of capitalism and greed and like all of that. But we're talking about, yeah, this imitation. So there is a perception again of what is going on. In more detailed. With the Three of Swords, so adaptation is going to be there to help with moving forward with dealing with these types of things so they don't occur again. Or if they get, if they are attempted again, which they can, of course, be attempted, they can easily be addressed and knocked out. So it's like, you know, a perfectly operating immune system. What is this King of Cups, though? Oh, this is actually feeling like the souls that have been affected by this particular imitation, mimicry, attack, whatever word you want to use, will also be provided these upgrades or these intelligences, this adaptation to deal with based off of the experience, but also this will be relayed to and encoded in new souls that are also created. Okay. I think that's gonna be it. Questions? Questions, comments, concerns? Questions, comments, concerns? We are at the tail end though, because we have essentially like 7, 8, 9. So this is almost done. Again, I don't know how long the healing is going to take for an individual person, but you have your instructions as it relates to that. All right, I don't see any questions or comments or concerns, so yeah. We will call it for now. I think next week I will be circling back to the functions in the spirit as it relates to the zodiac signs. I already did a message like that, and it's up there. I forgot what the title is for the video, but I'm going to circle back to it and reiterate from it, and also create more clarification. That's the intention anyway for next week, unless I get told to do something different. But yeah, I think we're good. So reset this. Good. Using guidance. How's everybody feeling? Using guidance, please. Okay, so from Gabriel, we have the Star and the Knight of Swords again on the bottom of the King of Swords. So healing and support is there from the higher realms. Swords, of course, do talk about communication. Knight of Swords also, for me, can relate to the angels. In general, also can talk about warfare, but excuse me. Power, prayer is there. Healing is there. Continue to call upon it daily. To be there to support and accept and receive what your new position is. Okay. And it's a new position because these energies were in place of the position. You were actually already supposed to be operating in that spot. So when that gets revealed to you, accept and receive and work in that. Just to thank you for the messages and support. You're welcome. Okay. It's important to accept and receive the position and step into it. All right. Let me get closing guidance from Source through the Holy Spirit. I'm going to ask that for folks who would be present next week, that information, that intel comes through, so that when I'm talking about these different positions next week, that you have that clarity and more specificity on the actions to take. Okay, keep your heart open. And please, please, please remember that the thrashing, the flailing, the kickback from essentially the arrests coming down is now closer to us. So 4th dimension and 3rd dimension and 3rd dimension. So the fight is not over yet, okay, until everyone has been caught. So don't get caught out here slipping. Like, be mindful of the spiritual warfare. And yeah. So from the Holy Spirit, we have the Knight of Cups, and on the bottom we have the Empress here. So this is a healing and elevation, and I'm also healing promotion with this, the new position. So receive it, receive the healing, receive the promotion or the elevation, the opening up of what is there. It's a natural state of your spirit. Your spirit is an emanation of the divine, of the Holy Spirit, of Source. Okay. Lead with love. Keep your energy light and let Source, let the Holy Spirit direct your path. Let this guide your will. Let this guide your passion. Let this guide the path you take. You see how light the energy is here? There's very little of the red, which represents our individual wills and will, passion, desire. It's non-existent. It is there, right? As a driver of the vehicle, but the majority of the color scheme that is here is very, very light. It is spirit. It's most of it. Okay. And the knight is consulting with the spirit. Even the horse, the human that the spirit is riding, is turned to consideration of that cup. And we have the Ace of Cups already show up, right? Like that is spirit. So remember who you are, whose you are, what your foundation really is, and move accordingly in the world. So when you catch your mindset going into doubt, slipping into envy, doing the I have to show up differently in order to succeed, or I have to adapt myself, my soul, my spirit, as I navigate the world, rather than I impose the will of the divine through my existence, by showing up as I have been made. And I give more credence and power to that, which creates it all rather than the created, right? Okay. Lovely. All right, y'all. This has been fun. Please do subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Please like the video. Please share the video. Be on the lookout for the newsletter with the updated prayer that I have. Definitely rewatch this as much as possible. And then, God willing, I will see you next time, okay?